Welcome to Different Perspectives. I am Paul Ndiho. Today, we focus on the DRC. The Senate has officially stripped the former President Joseph Kabila of his immunity, clearing the way for prosecution over allegations of treason and war crimes. Authorities say there is solid evidence, documents, witness testimony, and more linking Kabila to M23 rebel group, which has seized control of key towns in eastern DRC. Kabila, who ruled from 2001 to 2019, didn't appear before the Senate and he denied similar allegations in the past. After stepping down, he was made a senator for life, a title that gave him legal protection, but now that shield is gone. What's more, reports suggest that he quietly returned from exile in South Africa and maybe in Goma, eastern DRC, a city currently under M23 control. Joining me for deeper analysis is Mulegwa Zihindula, attorney and former spokesperson for President Joseph Kabila. Mr. Mulegwa, welcome to Different Perspectives.
Thank you very much, my very good Paul Ndiho. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm very glad to have this conversation.
It looks like your former boss is in some kind of trouble. From your perspective, are these allegations that have been leveled against your former boss, former President Joseph Kabila, credible?
Well, first of all, I don't think President Joseph Kabila is in trouble in any way. These allegations against him from a government, the government that replaced him, that has confiscated power from the people. And so what they are doing now is to try to find a scapegoat for their incompetence, for their level of corruption. This is a corrupt government that is involved in looting the country.
The Senate officially stripped the former President Joseph Kabila of his immunity. That means that they are clearing way for possible prosecution over allegations of treason and war crime. You are a lawyer. You know how some of these things work. Maybe help us understand what this all means.
Politically and legally, this is a non-issue because one, this was orchestrated by the current president of the Democratic Republic of Congo. And according to the status of President Joseph Kabila is that in Congo of the former head of state. He's also a senator for life. But the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo and his entourage were too scared to go to both houses of parliament because the procedure they used is illegal. What you do for a former head of state, you have to call both houses. The Congress has to join together. So the Senate and the parliament must get together in a joint session and decide on the immunity of the head of state. But because they knew that the parliament would never accept this, they decided to go to the Senate and bribed everybody in the Senate. So taking away his immunity as a senator does not take away his immunity as a former head of state, which is more powerful than immunity as a former head of state. So this is a non-issue. This is a gimmick, a political gimmick from President Tshisekedi, who is failing miserably to take care of the aspiration of people.
There are some critics who argue that taking away immunity or him having immunity does not shield him from individual responsibility. There are allegations out there that suggest that he's in some way connected to the rebels. They give, for example, one of the political heads of M23, Colonel Nanga, was his right-hand guy during the elections. He's the one who led Congo through that period. He was the electoral commission chairperson at the time, appointed by Kabila. Now he leads a political or a rebel movement in the DRC. So when people look at that, they think that President Joseph Kabila is in some way connected to that.
Corneille Nangaa was not a political ally of President Kabila. Corneille Nangaa was working, he was the head of the National Electoral Commission, which has nothing to do with the head of state, contrary to...
Appointed by President Kabila.
Of course, you could be appointed, many people are appointed, but once you become appointed, your loyalty is to the republic. But let's speak about...
But you and I know that that's not how things work in Africa. For you to be appointed in a position like that, you really have to be an ally.
Maybe not. But let's talk about the allegations about against President Joseph Kabila. First of all, nobody has brought any proof that Joseph Kabila is involved in some form of insurrection against the Congolese government, that the President Joseph Kabila is associated with the M23. Nobody has brought one tangible proof that this is the case. But having said that, the Constitution, the Article 64 of the Congolese Constitution says that if anybody tries to rule the country contrary to the Constitution, in violation of the Congolese Constitution, the people of Congo have the right to fight that person. The Constitution does not say how you fight them. And so if many people in the Congo, if you are seeing a lot of people joining the AFC, which is led by Corneille Nangaa, is because people are sick and tired of the way Tshisekedi is ruling the country. But the level of corruption in the country is terrible. The life has become so difficult under Tshisekedi. So what Tshisekedi and his family have done is to loot the wealth of the country and put them in their own pocket. I will give you an example of one of his own brothers. His own brother bought a ranch in South Africa for $30 million and organized a big party for all these people that they are illegally selling the mines to come and celebrate in South Africa the same day that the M23 took the town of Goma. Even arrest the cardinal of the Democratic Republic of Congo. So this is a little too much, and I think the people do have the right to fight this regime according to Article 64 of the Constitution.
To the point you made earlier, you talked about how Tshisekedi's government is very, very corrupt, but the same kind of allegations were leveled against your former boss, President Joseph Kabila. There were even to the extent that the Panama Papers had him and his sister, they had assets all over the world. A lot of people said then that was corruption of the highest order. How do you square the two?
First of all, nobody has ever brought any tangible proof that the Kabila's government was corrupt. The one thing I could tell you about the Kabila's family, they're very hardworking people. And being a head of state does not inhibit your family from working and earning money in a very honest way. But there is something wrong with looting the minerals of the country and giving all the mining sectors only to members of their family. I'll give you one quick example. There was a negotiation recently between the Chinese TFM and Jeka Mines, which is the company that represents the mining in Katanga. There was a negotiation. The Chinese agreed to pay to the renegotiation of the contract. They agreed to pay $4 billion. And while they were ready to sign the papers, all the negotiators ready, they got a phone call from Tshisekedi a day later, telling them no, to reduce it to 2.4 billion, because President Tshisekedi was given $350 million by the Chinese to reduce what they had already agreed to. So it's all about him, and it's all about his...
Do you have evidence to that effect?
And you know, then Tshisekedi made a phone call to the negotiators and told them to reduce the amount that the Chinese had already agreed to, $4 billion, to reduce it to 2.4 million. Why? Because Tshisekedi received a kickback of $350 million. And then, worse than that, the negotiators were supposed to get 10% of the 2.4 billion. Here again, the $240 million that was supposed to go to the negotiators, Tshisekedi took the money for himself. So out of this deal, he got $490 million. Those are facts that can be proven anywhere. And that's why the negotiators talked about it, because he took their part.
Speaking of minerals, the United States has also joined, I guess, other countries, including China. They want also part of this cake, the cake that everybody talks about, the minerals in DRC, critical minerals in DRC. They are willing to come and maybe sort out the issues in Eastern DRC if in exchange of minerals, critical minerals. Have you had an opportunity maybe to analyze what this all means if the United States gets into the mix trying to solve the conflict in DRC? As a matter of fact, when President Donald Trump was meeting Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa, he mentioned that a deal was supposed to be signed between the two countries.
And that would be a big mistake by the United States government to sign a deal with a tenuous regime that does not control the country. And first of all, people need to understand there are no mines that are available in Congo right now. All those mines have already been accounted for by other people. Again, the only reason why Tshisekedi wants this mining deal with the United States, it's not because of the Congolese people. The only reason he thinks he can get this is because he thinks the United States can help him to remain in power forever.
Going back to the point that we talked about earlier, there are a lot of nuances when it comes to the conflict in Eastern DRC. There are a lot of political actors. There are a lot of foreign and local actors. There are a lot of external interests in the DRC or Eastern DRC. From your vantage point, what seems to be the issue?
But President Kabila left power on January 24th, 2019. The M23 that we are talking about had been smoked out by the Congolese army. But Tshisekedi went to negotiate with them to bring them back into the DRC to be part of some brigade that was supposed to be protecting his power. Unfortunately, as in any situation, because he had many of the M23 that were in prison, he removed them from prison. They were all released and so on and so forth. And then, as always, even though he fed these fellows and took care of them for 14 months, the negotiations with them broke down. And when the negotiations with them broke down, they went back to the bush to fight him. So again, it's the context in Congo is being facilitated by one person, and that's President Tshisekedi. So all these external actors have no choice but to come and take over because they have free passage.
How about the issue of the neighboring country, Rwanda, the allegations that have been leveled against them? They deny any involvement in what we see happening in the DRC. You also have, you've had other presences, like, for example, the UN peacekeeping force, MONUSCO, has been there for over 20 years. You had the East African forces coming for about a year, SADC. All these regional and multinational organizations have come into Congo, DRC to try to sort out issues there, but they've all failed. Why?
Well, first of all, when President Tshisekedi took power on January 24th, 2019, there were no Rwandan forces in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which were fighting, as people say. The UN was in the process of packing up their bags and go back to their respective countries. So these issues did not exist until Tshisekedi did not care so much about the country.
Have you had an opportunity to speak to your former boss about these allegations and what this might mean legally for him?
Oh, I mean, I know what they mean legally. You know, they amount out to nothing. This is a political gimmick. There is no legal basis for these allegations, because these are unfounded allegations. And then the procedures that was followed was just a procedure where they coerced a bunch of senators. They give them money to do this and told them, you either do this or you get in trouble.
I know you spent a lot of time with President Joseph Kabila. You understood his thought process because you worked very closely with him as his spokesperson. You also had an opportunity to crisscross the country. Why would he want to again come back to power through these other means that you alluded to, other means necessary?
President Kabila, first of all, I still work with him. I'm his attorney. I'm his attorney. I work for him as his attorney. But this is what I will say to you. It's, you know, when President Kabila took an oath, first as a military person, secondly as president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, he swore loyalty to the country, to defend and protect the country, and willing to even give up his life for that. You know, this is the reason why Kabila wants to continues to work with Congolese people, not to try to take over, to become to take power. President Kabila is not interested in taking power, because if he was, he would never have ceded the power democratically. He had all the opportunity to do that, but he felt it was not in the best interest of the Congo. And he felt it was against the oath that he swore to defend the Constitution and to defend the Democratic Republic of Congo. So what President Kabila is doing now is to defend the integrity of the Democratic Republic of Congo, not to look for a job. I mean, what else can he become? He's already been president, and he's not seeking to become president again. But the country is in trouble, and he swore an oath to that Constitution, and that oath is still there. And he needs to do what he's doing now, which is to defend the territorial integrity of Congo and to defend our Constitution.
If I hear you correctly, can you expound more on that? You're using the word defend the country. What do you mean exactly?
So defend the country is, first of all, because Tshisekedi wants to get rid of the Constitution of the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is the fundamental law of our country. And Tshisekedi came to power because of that fundamental law. But he wants to get rid of that fundamental law so that Tshisekedi can stay in power forever. No one in Congo wants Tshisekedi to stay in power forever, not only because he has not done anything to help the population of Congo. He has not even, in 6 years, he has not even built 1 mile of road in the Congo. So there is no need to prolong the suffering of the Congolese people. And President Kabila will not accept, will not sit by idle. No Congolese people will sit by idle while Tshisekedi wants to stay in power forever.
As his attorney, are you suggesting that he's going to use other means necessary to regain control of that country and defend it?
President Kabila is not trying to regain control for himself of the country. What President Kabila is doing is to defend the Constitution, and he has an obligation as a person who had sworn an oath to the Democratic Republic of Congo to defend the Constitution of the Democratic Republic of Congo. And that Constitution right now is being threatened by President Tshisekedi. He wants to get rid of the Constitution. Tshisekedi has destroyed all the institutions in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Parliament has no say. No institution works anymore in Congo. The only institution today in Congo is the word of King Tshisekedi.
Given that he's the president, the elected president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, he also took an oath to protect that country. Here he is. He has an insurgence that has broken out on one part of the country. These people are threatening his legitimacy. They want to take power away from him. He's a democratically elected president. How would he defend that country if he's not willing to use other means necessary to fight the rebels who are trying to overthrow him? He's the legitimate leader of DRC as we speak.
Yes.
From what you're saying that he wants to become a king. It's not written anywhere. He has not said he wants to abandon the constitution. He's still under that mandate. Constitutionally, he's in his second term under that mandate. So he's trying to protect his country.
Tshisekedi said himself, nobody can stop me, like him. He was saying about himself, nobody can stop me from changing the constitution. There is no one in this country that is able to stop me from changing the constitution. That's Tshisekedi word for word. So he has put together a commission to change the constitution, and he wants to change the constitution to remain in power forever.
I'm not a lawyer. You're a lawyer. Maybe you are in a better position to explain this. A constitution is a working document. It can be changed. It can be amended any time. What's wrong with President Tshisekedi reaching out to the Congolese people, using the Senate, the members of parliament there to change the constitution? Because as countries advance, in some cases, you look back at some of your laws, you're like, oh, maybe these laws need to be changed, need to be tweaked. What's wrong with that?
The Constitution of the Democratic Republic of Congo allows for that constitution to be modified. There's nothing wrong with anybody trying to modify the constitution, except one article. The only article that says that they cannot be changed is Article 220, which says the terms of the president are only you can only have 2 presidential terms. So Tshisekedi wants to change the whole thing, including the term limits. And this is where the problem is, because he wants to stay in power. There is nobody who has told him that he cannot modify the constitution. You know, he can modify the constitution. He can ask parliament to modify the constitution. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's not what he wants. He does not want to modify, because he could modify all the articles he wants, except for Article 2.
Mulegwa Zihindula, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, my very good Paul Ndiho, and say hello to everybody in the Washington, D.C. area.
We want to know what you think about the Senate officially stripping former President Joseph Kabila of his immunity, clearing the way for prosecution over allegations of treason and war crimes. Share your comments in the comment sections below. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to Paul Ndiho on X, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, and YouTube.